Hi, welcome to A Punk with Toys. My name is Lawrence, and today we're going to take a look at the GI Joe Classified Falcon. Now, I'm not going to constantly read off this name because there's no reason to. We know this is Falcon. We've never cared about what their real names are. And Hasbro's only putting that on there because they probably lost the trademark to Falcon. So, we're going to get into this. We're going to look at the box. We're going to open the figure up. We're going to compare him to the O-ring. And we're going to see if he looks just as bad as all the pictures and video that we've seen. I've seen some video where they're like, hey, it's not as bad, and the picture doesn't, or the video doesn't look as bad of the face sculpt. And then I've seen other ones where it looks absolutely horrendous. The one thing that I think is pretty sure is it doesn't look that good, especially compared to some of the face sculpts that they've given us. They really haven't given us any bad ones. I know there's a guy that goes out there and says, dude doesn't look like Lady J. Clearly, you never saw the Lady J O-ring because that looks nothing like a woman. So anyway, enough of that. Let's take a look at the box. So here he is. I like the artwork. Yes, I'm not a fan of the plastic-less box or packaging where we can't see it. Because basically, I don't even know what figure's in here. Now, this came directly from a supplier, so I don't need to worry about it being swapped or anything. But looking at the box, it looks really cool. The paratroopers, he's sitting there. He clearly looks like he's a little aggravated. Maybe he just got in trouble. That's kind of what Falcon did, right? He's number 64 on the line. And here's the crappy file card that absolutely no one knows, no one cares about. There are a few guys that you may see on YouTube and they go and they break it down. Go watch them because I'm not going to do it. Here you have the figure on the back and everything that he comes with. The one thing that I did say that I really do like on the back is that they give you the actual size of the figure, which I think is actually pretty cool. It's not the size that he's supposed to be. He's not supposed to be 6 foot 0.73. He's 6 inches 0.73. So I like that. Again, you see everything that he comes with. There you can see him being a paratrooper here. So let's not waste any more time. We're gonna open him up. We're gonna compare him to the O-ring. I've already looked at the box and the back of it, and you can see there's a lot of sculpting that is made to look like the O-ring. But then we're going to get into the face sculpt. You don't need to worry. But if you like the content before when you get a second, take a second, hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. Hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I drop a classified video. And guess what? There's a whole bunch over there. So you know what you're going to be getting the next 5 days. So let's get into this. All right, so I got him out. I'm going to say this, and this is really odd, and this is not me defending it. But looking at the face sculpt, it's not as bad as that we've seen. But when I look at it through the lens, or shall I say the camera here, through the phone, it looks awful. Like, this thing does not photo, I can't even think of it. It doesn't take pictures well. It's not a good face sculpt, but it does not look half as bad sitting here looking at it in person. But when I looked through it through this camera, it looked absolutely awful. I don't know. It is extremely strange. I had watched Bobby B's earlier, his review, and he kind of said the same thing, that it didn't look as bad as he thought it was going to. Though I've had pictures of this thing sent to me. So I just want to show you, this is how they come out, how they are right now. Listen, at least they give you where I guess if you pull this thing out, you could display it like that, but I don't really care for it. All right, so there's the figure right there. Yes, again, looking at it straight on, it doesn't look that bad. I look at it through this, and it looks awful, 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 awful. Okay, so before we get into that, let's open this up. So I like this idea of his foot locker, but to be honest, it is just poorly executed. it looks like it's for a 12-inch figure, not a 6-inch figure, with how big it is, how big the numbers are. So, all right, so everything is in a bag, and this is exactly where, again, this is what people were complaining about. So Lenny had specifically talked about this and said that the weapons are going to come in with cardboard around it and everything, and unfortunately they're just thrown in a bag, which means that they're going to melt, they're going to warp, they're going to do all different types of things when they're sitting in the extreme heat. Now this is February, so we don't get, it's not doing it right now, but guess what, there's nothing to keep this gun straight. There's a shotgun, and so the shotgun quickly looks straight until you get to the stock here, which definitely does not. So we'll take a look at the shotgun since I have it out here. And it seems like the reason why they did it is because his original shotgun had the big handle here. But I always figured that this big handle here was because an O-ring really couldn't hold the shotgun to make it look properly. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I always thought. So they gave him a shotgun. Now this is obviously has the handle on it. It's got the trigger. You can see obviously it doesn't actually pump action, nothing like that. I really just did that. So again, they look different, to be honest, but obviously shotguns kind of look like shotguns. Here you have a couple shotgun shells that are on the back. This thing does flip up, so I guess you don't need to use it. And then you have the shoulder part where you would aim, but it is very flimsy, so it's kind of going to move around, but maybe once you get them in a regular position, you'll be fine. Now, I do not have any of the other weapons, but I do remember this backpack, and it did have the antenna that stuck up, and then it was always bent here. Now, Bobby B had pointed out that it looks like it's taped up the top, and he said that was realistic. I don't know. I've never been in the military, but the antenna's all jacked up, and I would assume probably that's what it's going to get if you're out in the battlefield. So there you got a couple water cantinas there. You got rope for it, and they're painted different colors, so it makes it pop, which looks really nice. It's going to stand out. Again, I think it looks pretty good. I think you could have done a few more paint apps, but I feel like the most we're gonna get are maybe 2, maybe 3 on a special figure on the backpack. Now on the side here is for the knife. Now I do remember him being one of the first people that had knives, but his original backpack did have a spot for the knife, which I always thought was absolutely awesome. So the handle is painted a gray, and then it is silver, and it's got a little bit of detail. It's not super soft, which is good, but it's also not super pointy. Like the Valiverse ones are just really, really pointy. I mean, they could really cut you, to be honest. But it looks good. It just pops right in there. So I do like paying attention to what came before it, if that's how you're going to do your figures. If you're going to make them just like the OGs, then do it just like the OG. If not, then break away a little bit. Again, this is going to have to be adjusted a little bit, kind of warmed up. I guess it's not all that bad since it is a separate part, but I've complained about that stuff in the past. The shotgun actually looks straight, so. Then we have his beret, and quickly looking at this original Falcon beret, he has the same emblem on it. It's folded over in the same way, so I think that looks really nice. He has a much shinier one. This is a more matte green, but I'm okay with it. I think it looks pretty nice, to be honest. And the fact that you do have 2 different paint apps on it. Now it's time for the figure. And let's just see how bad it really is. Alright, so before we do anything, let's move him around. I have not warmed him up. I have not heated him. You actually saw me pop him out. So he's going to get a T-pose. Pinless joints. No problems. It's the elbow pose. Pretty good Jean-Claude Van Damme. Tight knees, but that's not... Oof. That one's kind of tight there. He's been in my house, so it's not like he's been out in the cold. All right, so I'm not going to try and do that because I feel like you're going to break him. And that's odd. So that's part of the knee as actually bending. So that one bent all the way. Now, it looks like they're getting less and less articulation out of it here because the old figures would almost, or would kick their butts. Where this one definitely does not seem like it's going to get there now, does it? Gonna just try and do this a little bit more. Yeah, it is moving, but you may just want to give him a nice little warm bath. Not gonna force it. I will do that later. All right, and then we got thigh swivel. Got the boot cut. And then we got your ankle rockers. They seem decent, but again, some of this, if it feels like it's too stiff, don't force it. Just don't. There's nothing wrong with either doing a hot bath. You also have to drop down hips or the blow dryer. It's just common practice. All right, so here we have the Classified Falcon, and here we have the O-ring Falcon. And let's take a look at the two. And I can tell you right now, they really did follow what came with this figure. So now, I think once we heat it up, he will obviously stand a little bit better. Okay, so we'll start off with the boots here. And as you can see, it is painted like the Falcon boots to begin with. Now, it's using a much different green. It's a much darker green than this brighter green. But the boots are painted just like the actual boots that the OG O-ring Falcon came with. Now, unfortunately, the camouflage does not stand out all that well here, but it is there. It's obviously a little bit different, and as it comes up here, it does have the pouch, although his looks like it almost came, the original one had the same flashlight that came with Outback, but it didn't peg in or peg out, but it has the same type of pocket on the side. And then when you get up to the belt here, which is a separate piece here, it does have the same pocket right there, the pouch. And then on the back, they give him some pockets right in the back. And then we get to the side here on this side, and we have, he doesn't have the pouch here, or the pocket, but he does have the pocket on his thigh. So up here, this is where they really make the changes because they're going to use the same body as, I believe, Stalker. For the most part, the arms, I believe, are different. So you have the pockets here, the pouches, and the same with right up in the front. And then you have the clasp right in the middle. Here we have the brown knife, same that's up here. And unfortunately, you can barely see any of the camouflage. The one thing that I did notice is he does have, I don't want to say his communicator, but his microphone right there. And he has the JoeCom or Joe Pro or whatever it is up here. So rather than giving him this, they gave him the Joe Pro up there. And then over on this side, he does have the pockets or the pouches. So this here I like because it allows you to actually use the ab crunch, but it also looks kind of like he's a paratrooper, and it really should be something with a parachute. I said a lot. I gotta stop that, right? So here we have his neckerchief, which is something that he had on the original, but it just doesn't work in my opinion. It's way out of position. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pop it off because I just really don't like the way that it looks. I don't like his head either. So here you're looking at him, he looks like a Vietnam. I mean, it looks like a Vietnam, just a Vietnam outfit. Unfortunately, again, there is camouflage, but it's very hard to see. So let's just get to the face sculpt. And honestly, it's not as bad in person as it looks. It's something that it does not hit the camera well. It does not look nearly as bad as it does. It's not a good one. So we'll take a look at it here. His lips come off extremely bright, again, through the lens and what I'm looking at. But when you're looking at it in person, they're not nearly as bright as you would think they are. His face also doesn't look as droopy as it does in this. I can't believe I'm kind of defending it, but it doesn't look half as bad as I thought it was going to. The eyes actually looked good. The paint. I want to talk about the paint here. The eyebrows look good. The hair looks awful. He really looks like the dad from Back to the Future. The back actually looks good, but the front just doesn't work. So he's definitely one that's going to have the beret. So the beret makes him kind of look like he's got a much bigger head. But I will say, once you have him, once they're out, he's not as bad as he looks on camera. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, he does not look nearly as bad on camera. Or he looks way worse on camera. In hand, he doesn't look as bad. I've said that numerous times. But once you lean him back down like that, it looks like this very droopy face. When you take it off, that definitely doesn't help because I just don't think the hair looks all that good. Look at it from the side here, this doesn't look all that bad. It is strange. It's by far probably their worst face sculpt. I'm not going to argue with that. The worst head sculpt. But it's not as bad as the pictures and everything make it. Look, I don't know. I've said that too many times. So, anyway, let's arm him and see how he stands. His lips are still a little bright, to be honest, but... Alright, so let's throw the backpack on here. He really stands out as a Green Beret in the movie Green Berets. So I feel like I need to go get him some sort of M16. And again, I'm having a hard time standing here. A backpack, definitely the peg needs to be longer. So I'm probably going to have to use some sticky tack to get that thing to stay on there. But looking at this, he just really does come off as just a Green Beret from... He looks awful. Like me trying to pose him like this, he's not really wanting to cooperate. So we're going to pose him... Yeah. You can open up their hands and just make them hold the gun. It kind of looks... I don't know how to explain... I can't explain the face sculpt. I just can't. I can't explain it. I don't... You hit you hit one angle and you're like, oh, that doesn't look that bad. And then you just twist him a little bit and you're like, dude, the thing is awful. I can't explain it. I can't. I don't know. It does have a port for blast effects. I don't know how I'm going to use this figure. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm sorry. This is not the reaction I had expected. But anyway, this is your Falcon. And comparing him to the OG Falcon, our O-ring Falcon, as you can see here. And again, it just always looked really weird. You're kind of going to hold a shotgun underneath. I don't want to break his thumb. He has one of the very brittle thumbs. So there's your Falcon O-ring. But for the most part, the design of the body looks the same. They followed everything the way the O-ring figure looked, and that's what you need to do. But the face sculpt on the O-ring is 10 times better. All right? He shoots perfectly good. He looks good for the camera. This is what they should have done. Or the digital render, which really looked really good, to be honest. Okay, let's wrap this up, guys. I'm just too busy laughing at it. All right, so there you have it. That's the Falcon. Now, I did quickly pop on a Valaverse head, and it is a little loose. You'd have to use a little bit of sticky tack, but if you have a Valaverse head sculpt that you like, and I know people have already seen the blowback head sculpt, people already wanting to use that. The only problem with that is that head sculpt is so good, and it really goes with blowback, that I don't really want to use that. The other face sculpt that I had thought about using, because I'm going to have a whole bunch of them, and I actually already have one, is the Tim Kennedy, but that's a bad face sculpt too, to be honest. And again, it's not something we should have to do. So I don't want anyone to think that, like, we shouldn't have to do that. Like, it may only be $25, but $25, that may be like one figure a guy, someone can get for a month. And they're like, hey, I can't even get the whole line. Falcon was my favorite figure. Why should I have to change him? Again, the face is not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's also not great. It's not even good. But it's not as bad as all the other pictures had looked. Again, I think that this thing here, his little scarf or whatever, it makes his head look like it's popped up. So it makes it look like he has no neck, for one thing. That's why he seems to have a very long neck, I believe. So I just don't think that's going to do justice to it. But to be honest, the figure isn't that bad. I like the outfit. I like this military look here. I'd rather have something other than a shotgun. I wish the peg on this was a little bit longer. I can't believe I said that. So it would stay on there a little bit easy, because this thing it comes off extremely easy. But that's your Falcon. I guess it's going to be up to you and everyone else if this is what you want to spend your money on. But I'm actually not super upset about it. It's kind of crazy. I don't know what else to say. Sorry about all the laughing, but I'm seriously, like, I'm doing that video and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, the head doesn't look that bad. And then you look at the camera and you're like, holy crap, it looks awful. And then, like, you hit the wrong angle and you're like, oh, wow, that looks hideous. The other thing that I didn't want to mention, now, so, and here's another thing that really stands out in the pictures is how glossy his chest is. And Wakanda is the same way, but in person, it's not as noticeable. And maybe it's because this here kind of breaks it, so you don't see a solid break. But again, looking at it, because I can see myself here while I'm doing this, it looks awful. But looking at this in person, the figure's not half as bad in person as all the videos, all the photos that we've seen, and I've done memes about it. Chaz has done memes about it. Believe me, I bashed this figure, and it's not as awful as I thought it was going to be. But one of the biggest problems is comes in a box like this. And it doesn't look like that. It looks like that. And seriously, looking at that, it doesn't even look all that bad. The hair, I think, still looks awful. It looks like it's painted on. Well, I mean, it is painted on. It looks like someone that paints their hair on. Yes, the hair is painted on. What do you know? All right, listen. I can't keep doing this. You got the video. That's my honest opinion. I know someone's gonna go and call me a shill or whatever because I said the face isn't that bad, but I can't believe, like, here I am looking at it and I'm like, it's not bad. It's really not that bad. Like, I'm not. Wow. I had like a whole short ready to do and everything. I mean, I still might do it, but I don't know. Though there are some complaints. Again, this thing falls off really easily. I do have to heat them up to see if I'm going to be able to even stand them properly. And that's been one of my big things. Like, hey, I don't really have an issue standing 6-inch figures. But he's already having kind of an issue, I feel, like standing. Obviously, can't bend his knee, so. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. I think I've rambled on long enough. So let's just get to it. You know the deal. Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, A Punk with Toys. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell notification so you're notified every time that I drop a video. And I've mentioned before in the likes, always like the content creators. It tells YouTube people like this, people that are watching GI Joe, Motu, whatever it is, they like it. And I don't care if you're watching watches, if you're watching cars or whatever. If you like the content, hit the like. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. Don't leave. Watch the classified videos. This is the playlist. And right here, watch this video because YouTube says you're going to like it. Have a wonderful day.